On the chaotic streets of Skid Row, you'll find a preacher, his wife, and his 2 kids every Saturday. For years, Josue and his family have been serving the homeless with food and prayer.
In Jesus' name, thank you, Lord God.
And even though Skid Row is where drug addiction reigns unchecked,
This corner, those are the drug dealers right there.
Both sides of the streets, just crack addicts, bro. Like straight on crack.
that's the exact reason this family is here.
The chains of addiction are strong, and only God can really break that.
Their dedication to help the homeless reveals a story about family, faith, and second chances.
I went down on my knees and I was like, Lord, can you please change my heart?
This is The Final Project. Could you just tell us where we're going right now?
We're going to my job. I work with metal, sheet metal, coils, tubing, bars, all types of metal. What we do is that we package the metal and we send it out. We're kind of like a retail, but for different companies. I recently just started. We were waiting for this job for about a month, and this job came through, and they pay really well. So I thank God for that.
So I was kind of surprised that you are a blue-collared worker, even though you're preaching out into the streets. Do you have any desire to become like a full-time pastor or anything like that? Or
You know, I have no desire of being a pastor, to be honest. This is really my greatest desire, is to be just a regular guy who works every single day and who just takes care of his family. Like, that's how I want to be. I just don't like that I'm missing so much time with my kids, but I'm with my wife. I missed them. The 16-hour shift really killed me yesterday. But other than that, it's all right. We love the paycheck.
a father working overtime to provide for his family spends the rest of his day to feed the needy. Can you just let the people watching know like what you're doing?
Yeah, we're just gonna pass out some stuff. Of course, it's not about the stuff, it's about preaching the gospel. We're just out here gonna preach the gospel. We just use this as a tool to form relationships and to tell them about Jesus. Que puedes vivir y te pueden ayudar. I thank you so much for what you've done in his life, Lord. He's been going through such hard times, Lord. He's asking that you would keep him fresh and clean. That you would give him success, Lord.
Most of the homeless kept a respectful distance from the kids, with the occasional friendly interaction. Still, there was a time when even coming out to Skid Row was a huge risk.
My daughter popped up, and maybe about when she was 1 year old, I felt the call to go to Skid Row. So I started going with my family, and I was still working at the time. It was really hard for us because we were scared. We didn't know how it was going to be. We had the kids.
The first day, I was like so traumatized. I was like, who's behind me? You know, like these people are just staring at my kids. And then it's like that day I cried. And then I told Josue, I don't think we should take the kids.
But God has not one time left us without his protection. And we always pray for his protection. People have started to know me and my family. Like, they know my family. If my wife and my daughter and my son are not there, they would tell us, like, where's your family? They would tell me, where's your family?
One lady, she's like, where's Lily at? Where's Lily at? And so she comes to Lily to show her. They know on Saturdays that we go to Skid Row. In the morning, we get ready, and then they're like, oh, we're going to Skid Row? And I was like, yeah.
What are you guys handing out to the homeless today?
Jesus.
What's the value?
The value is their life, their eternal life. That's the value. Jesus Christ paid the price for their sins. They no longer have to go to hell. You know, they no longer have to take that route. There is a way. Scripture says that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. They don't need more of this stuff. Again, this is just a tool. It's really about their spiritual life. The chains of addiction are strong, and only God can really break that.
To Josue, this is not just a belief. It's a truth that he's lived.
I used to do a lot of meth. So that was my drug of choice. I was 15 when I started. I didn't quit until I was 19. Not feeling a single thing in my heart. Like, I felt absolutely nothing. There was no sadness, there was no happiness, there was no anger. I felt so empty. One night, I was in a holding cell for some stuff that had happened here at the household. I went down on my knees and I was like, Lord, can you please change my heart? And literally, as I had my eyes closed, I felt like I saw a hand come in and just grab my heart. And I remember I just like opened my eyes, like, okay, now what, God? Now what? Tell me what I'm supposed to do. I want to listen to you now. And from that point forward, it's been like that. But my God is so good. He's big. He's a big God. bigger than my mistakes and failures. And he can use those. He can use those.
That the methamphetamine rock is not your friend.
How you doing, brother? How are you, man?
I'm good, you?
You need any prayer for anything today, dude?
Good, bro. I'm ready. Like, I've been wanting to, like, I'm addicted to heroin. You know, I'm still on it. You know, but like I said, I just got off parole. My next step is to get out this addiction. But it's hard.
Yeah.
And then it's not just, I'm ready to get out of this, it's just, it's kind of, we sometimes don't know how to ask for help when we need it, you know what I mean?
And being a former addict, Josue shares the best helper he knows.
The way that I gave my life to Christ, I was doing crystal. I was 14 when I started. I was 15. I didn't stop until I was 19. I just wanted to feel something. I went on my knees and I asked God, I'm ready now. Please change my heart. That was the prayer that I asked God. I asked him, Lord, please change my heart. And I don't know where you're at right now, but the way that I'm looking at things, it seems like you're ready for that. But I cannot make that for you.
It's impossible to know how much these words might affect someone's life on Skid Row, which reveals a tough truth about Josue's ministry.
The fruit is hard to, it's hard, but when it's there, it's like, yeah, you know?
Well, the interesting thing about it is like part of what you want out here is you kind of don't want people to stick around.
Never.
You know, like in churches, you want people to stick around. You're like,
not here.
Yeah, keep coming. And then like, but here it's just like, no,
get out of here.
Go to somewhere better.
Yeah.
So it's like the fruit is, it's different because you don't see it like exactly the same way.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. Yeah.
And though Josue might never know the outcomes of his work on Skid Row, we know he and his family will be there on Saturday, changing the world one interaction at a time.
She down to earth. She wasn't ride, you know, she ride it out. She just chill. She like, nothing happening. You know, got on my Nike. Look. She good. She taking advantage of this moment. She like, I'm photogenic. She's in, look. She doing all these moves with her feet. She might be a basketball player, watch, mark my word. She'll do good. Look, she pretty.